Hi, I'm Jacob.
I'm Nathan.
I'm Kaylee.
And we're Team 5485, the GorillaBots. If you're new to the podcast, we're an FTC robotics team and we talk about science and robotics. Today we're talking about rescue robots, and specifically the thermite firefighting robot from How and How Technologies. So the thermite firefighting robot is, as you would guess, a small, relatively small refrigerator-sized robot that is used for surveillance, rescue, and loading, carrying, pushing objects or people during fire-related emergencies. So today we're going to go through some of the specifications and some of the details about the thermite robot.
Yeah, so the thermite robot weighs about around 1,600 pounds, I believe, and it can pull around 8,000.
Yeah, so there are actually, to be specific, there are 4 different thermite versions that are listed on the website. There's the RS1, RS3, EV1, and EV2. So all of those have different flow rates, so the amount of water it can output, different sizes, from the size of a small refrigerator to the size of a small room. Different weights, of course, and different speeds.
Yeah, so these robots basically are more advanced versions of the robots that we're building in FTC right now. If you notice, they have tank treads and many other technologies that are being used in our robots, except they're implemented in a more advanced way.
But these robots obviously vary in appearance, but they all have tank treads for pushing and pulling strength, and usually have tanks mounted at the top with a nozzle, and have cameras mounted in the front and back.
So the thermite is designed to keep human firefighters out of harm's way, so there are less fatalities and injuries involved. It's a dangerous line of work. The human controlling the robot can be up to a quarter of a mile away, which keeps the people away from the smoke and fumes, and also reduces the risk of fatigue, since heart attacks are a leading cause of death in human firefighters. So that leads to less fatalities, saving people and stopping fires.
So imagine a scenario where there's a burning building, right? Some sort of factory, and there was an accident. The alternatives you have are you can send in human firefighters. A couple of them are going to stand outside with the hoses hooked up to fire hydrants, and they're probably going to be standing there blasting the fire with their water until the fire goes out. And then when it's out from the outside, it seems structurally sound enough for people to enter. If a firefighter sees someone in danger, they're going to be rushing in to see who's inside, if anyone's still alive, and who needs to be rescued. And that can be really dangerous because buildings that are in fire tend to be structurally unsound, and it could collapse at any time. So one of the biggest benefits of the robot is the fact that with the cameras, it can go into a space and from the inside judge whether or not it's safe for human firefighters to go inside and conduct a more thorough search.
And to add on to that, the people, the firefighters standing outside, they might have to be using the hoses for hours on end, which is called defensive posturing. So instead, they could be replaced with robots who are not fatigued by the long hours and stuff, and can continue to be using the hoses.
In some situations, the fact that the proximity, it has to be within a quarter mile or about 400 meters of the remote controller, a human, can have its drawbacks.
So another con of the thermite is the fact that the human controller still has to be within a quarter of a mile. So for larger scale disasters like radiation, nuclear meltdowns, you still have people in danger because you still have to be within the range to control the robot into a dangerous situation. So the limited range of the robot is not really effective for all of the situations in which you'd like to remove people from the danger.
But, conceivably, if they could increase that range to 5 miles or something, then the robot can go into a nuclear disaster zone without much harm. It could save even more lives. Like Chernobyl, so many of the firefighters trying to put out the fire around the nuclear reactor ended up dying because of their proximity. That wouldn't happen to a robot. Or at least if the robot broke down, we wouldn't care as much.
Another downside of using the thermite in these situations is that people are less inspired when they see a robot running into a dangerous situation like a fire versus when they see a human risking their lives. Because we know that they're choosing to put themselves into that dangerous situation. They're choosing to risk their lives for others. They don't have that with the robot, so there's less of a connection.
Yeah, and that might seem like a small point, but there were actually a couple studies run by researchers at the University of Macau that talked about human prosociality, which is basically how to empathize with others and get inspired. So they ran tests to see how likely people would be to take part in like some sort of charity activity after showing footage of people or robots cleaning up after a disaster. And the people who watched the robots were less likely to donate, just because naturally robots are less empathy inducing than humans.
Yeah, so like a way to like solve this sort of issue is to like humanize these robots so humans have like a better way to like connect and interact with them. And this would form like a stronger bond, I guess, and it'll make them feel more positive towards these robots.
And so we're not saying to have artificial intelligence take over humanoid bodies, although we will be talking about artificial intelligence in a later episode, stay tuned. But a couple ways to make robot rescues seem more inspiring is to have a robot and a human pair up as some sort of super duo that reintroduces aspect of like vulnerability, the human's in real danger, while the robot still helps and contributes its superhuman ability.
Yes, to wrap up, there's this thermite robot which has like many new technologies and performs tasks a lot better than normal humans. Like they can push with a lot more force and carry a lot more weight. And they can also like go to more dangerous spots without having the human at risk.
So in a broader sense, this is a type of real-life robotics that goes on after our FTC careers. So for all of you people out there on an FTC team, or even younger than that, this is basically where our work leads to in industry. There's not much better things you can do with your life than developing a robot to save the lives of firefighters. And this is where technology is taking us in the future. So stay tuned for more updates about the latest technology and all news related to robotics. But for now, this is the GorillaBots signing off. Thanks for listening. Bye.